Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into African affairs. Today, we're bringing you an update on a topic that generated significant interest last year: the 15 most corrupt countries in Africa for 2025. Before we delve into the rankings, let's start with an important disclaimer. Corruption is a global phenomenon, not limited to any single continent or region. In fact, you might be surprised to learn that the least corrupt countries aren't the powerful Western nations or G7 members. Instead, Scandinavian countries of Denmark and Finland top the list, while Singapore leads in Asia and New Zealand in Oceania. Interestingly, the United States ranks 24th and the United Kingdom 20th, both below Seychelles, an African nation, at 18th place. So, when next they start pontificating to Africa about good governance, you know what to reply to them. Now, you might be wondering, why focus on Africa if corruption is a global issue? Well, our channel specializes in African affairs, and we're here to provide in-depth analysis of the continent's challenges and progress. But remember, these rankings don't define a nation's worth or potential. I know that you may be wondering how the African Sahel countries of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Gabon, currently under military leadership, fared in the rankings. Well, just watch the video till the end, and you will judge yourself the difference between democratic and military regimes in Africa when it comes to corruption. Before we continue, a quick reminder to like this video if you're enjoying the content so far. And don't forget to subscribe to African Finance Watch, your go-to source for Africa's economic insights and business opportunities, trends, and investment opportunities. Hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest updates. Now, let's continue. As we explore this sensitive topic, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think these rankings accurately reflect the situation in your country? What factors do you believe contribute most to corruption? Your insights could spark fascinating discussions. Understanding corruption and its measurement. Before we reveal the rankings, let's discuss how corruption is measured globally. The most widely accepted standard is the Corruption Perceptions Index (CPI) by Transparency International. Who is Transparency International? Transparency International is a non-governmental organization founded in 1993. With a presence in over 100 countries, they work tirelessly to combat global corruption. Their mission? To stop corruption and promote transparency, accountability, and integrity worldwide. The Corruption Perceptions Index, CPI. The CPI is Transparency International's flagship research product. It ranks 180 countries and territories by their perceived levels of public sector corruption, drawing on 13 expert assessments and surveys of business executives. The index uses a scale from 0, highly corrupt, to 100, very clean. But why has the world accepted the CPI as the standard? Its methodology is rigorous, consistent, and impartial. The CPI doesn't measure actual corruption, but rather the perception of corruption in the public sector. This approach allows for comparison across different political and legal systems. Corruption in Africa. Progress and challenges. Africa's performance on the CPI remains a concern, with the African region registering the lowest average score of 33 out of 100. However, it's not all bad news. Several African nations have shown remarkable progress in their anti-corruption efforts. Countries on the rise. Côte d'Ivoire has gained 10 points since 2019, thanks to legal and institutional reforms promoting transparency and accountability. Seychelles, Africa's top performer, has improved by an impressive 20 points since 2012, actively prosecuting high-profile corruption cases and strengthening financial transparency. Tanzania has also made significant strides, gaining 10 points since 2014. The country has established a specialized court for corruption and economic crime cases, and high-level officials suspected of corruption are promptly relieved of their duties pending investigation. Countries facing challenges. On the flip side, Some nations have seen alarming declines. Lesotho has dropped 12 points over the last decade, with the government cracking down on civil society and silencing journalists. Eswatini has declined by 16 points, struggling with unauthorized expenditures and an ineffective anti-corruption commission. Gabon and Liberia have both recorded 10-point declines since 2014, but recent political changes in both countries offer hope for improvement. Unveiling the 15 most corrupt countries in Africa, 2025. Now, let's address the feedback we received from last year's video. Many viewers felt their countries should have been ranked differently, some believing they should be considered more corrupt, others less so. However, it's crucial to approach these rankings with an open mind and accept them as the current global standard until a more comprehensive alternative is developed. Without further ado, let's count down the 15 most corrupt countries in Africa for 2025, starting from the least corrupt to the most corrupt. Remember, due to tied rankings, we'll actually be covering 26 countries in this list. That's a big bonus for you, our cherished superstars. Number 15. Mauritania and Egypt. Score: 30 over 100. Rank: 130 over 180. Mauritania, a vast country in Northwest Africa, is known for its rich mineral resources and diverse landscapes. Despite its low ranking, Mauritania has made efforts to combat corruption, including the establishment of an anti-corruption commission. However, challenges persist, particularly in the mining sector. Egypt, with its ancient civilization and strategic location, faces corruption challenges in its public sector. The country has implemented some anti-corruption measures, but issues like bribery and nepotism continue to hinder progress. Egypt's position on this list highlights the need for more robust anti-corruption efforts. Number 14. Guinea. Score: 28 over 100. Rank: 133 over 180. Guinea, rich in minerals and agricultural potential, has struggled with political instability and corruption for decades. The country's vast natural resources, particularly bauxite, have often been a source of corruption allegations. Recent efforts to improve transparency in the mining sector show promise, but significant challenges remain. Number 13. Mali, Liberia, Gabon, and Eswatini. Score: 27 over 100. Rank: 135 over 180. Mali, a landlocked country in West Africa, has faced political instability and security challenges that have exacerbated corruption issues. The country's vast gold reserves have been a particular focus of corruption concerns. The mining industry is currently undergoing massive reforms under President Assimi Goïta. Liberia, founded by freed American slaves, has a complex history of civil war and reconstruction. Recent political changes, including a new president committed to anti-corruption efforts, the Pearl of Africa, has rich natural resources but struggles with corruption, particularly in public service delivery. The country has implemented anti-corruption measures, but their effectiveness remains a concern. Nigeria, Africa's most populous country and largest economy, continues to grapple with corruption despite high-profile anti-corruption campaigns. The country's vast oil wealth has often been at the center of corruption allegations. Madagascar, known for its unique biodiversity, faces corruption challenges that impact conservation efforts and economic development. The island nation has implemented some anti-corruption measures, but their impact has been limited. Cameroon, with its diverse geography and cultures, has struggled with corruption in various sectors. The country has made efforts to combat corruption, but implementation and enforcement remain significant challenges. Number 11. Mozambique. Score: 25 over 100. Rank: 146 over 180. Mozambique, with its long Indian Ocean coastline, has faced significant corruption challenges, particularly in relation to its natural gas resources. The hidden debt scandal, where undisclosed government-guaranteed loans were discovered, has had a lasting impact on the country's corruption perception. Number 10. Central African Republic. Score: 24 over 100. Rank: 149 over 180. The Central African Republic, a landlocked country rich in diamonds and other resources, has been plagued by political instability and conflict. These factors have contributed to widespread corruption, particularly in the natural resource sector. Efforts to combat corruption have been hampered by weak institutions and ongoing security challenges. Number 9. Congo. Score: 23 over 100. Rank: 151 over 180. The Republic of Congo, often called Congo-Brazzaville to distinguish it from its larger neighbor, faces significant corruption challenges. The country's oil wealth has been a particular focus of corruption concerns. Despite some anti-corruption efforts, progress has been limited, and the country continues to struggle with transparency and accountability issues. Number 8. Zimbabwe, Guinea-Bissau, Comoros, and Chad. Score: 21 over 100. Rank: 158 over 180. Zimbabwe, once known as the breadbasket of Africa, has faced economic challenges and corruption allegations for decades. Recent efforts to combat corruption have shown some promise, but significant challenges remain. Guinea-Bissau, a small West African nation, has been plagued by political instability and corruption, particularly related to drug trafficking. The country's weak institutions have struggled to combat these issues effectively. Comoros, an archipelago nation in the Indian Ocean, faces corruption challenges exacerbated by political instability and limited resources. The country has made some efforts to improve governance, but progress has been slow. Chad, a landlocked country in north-central Africa, has struggled with corruption, particularly in relation to its oil revenues. Political instability and weak institutions have hindered effective anti-corruption efforts. Number 7. Democratic Republic of the Congo. Score: 20 over 100. Rank: 163 over 180. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, Africa's second-largest country, is rich in natural resources but has been plagued by conflict and corruption for decades. Despite some efforts to improve transparency, particularly in the mining sector, corruption remains a significant challenge across various levels of government and society. Number 6. Burundi. Score: 17 over 100. Rank: 165 over 180. Burundi, a small landlocked country in East Africa, has faced political instability and violence that have exacerbated corruption issues. The country's weak institutions and limited resources have made it difficult to implement effective anti-corruption measures. Efforts to combat corruption have often been overshadowed by political tensions and human rights concerns. Number 5. Sudan. Score: 15 over 100. Rank: 170 over 180. Sudan, with its long history and strategic location, has faced significant corruption challenges, particularly during the long rule of Omar al-Bashir. The country's ongoing political transition offers some hope for improvement, but corruption remains deeply entrenched in many sectors. Recent efforts to recover stolen assets and improve transparency face significant obstacles. Number 4. Equatorial Guinea. Score: 13 over 100. Rank: 173 over 180. Equatorial Guinea, a small but oil-rich country in Central Africa, has long faced criticism for its lack of transparency and allegations of corruption at the highest levels of government. Despite its oil wealth, much of the population lives in poverty. The country's low CPI score reflects the perception of widespread corruption and the need for significant reforms. Number 3. Libya and Eritrea. Score: 13 over 100. Rank: 173 over 180. Libya, once one of Africa's wealthiest nations, has been mired in conflict and instability since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. This chaos has created fertile ground for corruption, with competing factions vying for control of the country's vast oil resources. Rebuilding effective anti-corruption institutions remains a significant challenge. Eritrea, often called the North Korea of Africa, due to its isolation and authoritarian government, faces severe corruption challenges. The country's opaque governance and lack of independent media or civil society make it difficult to assess the full extent of corruption, but its consistently low CPI score reflects deep-rooted issues. Number 2. Somalia. Score: 9/100. Rank: 179/180. Somalia, struggling with decades of conflict and instability, faces score: 8/100. Rank: 180/180. South Sudan, the world's newest country, unfortunately holds the dubious distinction of being perceived as the most corrupt nation in Africa and globally. Since gaining independence in 2011, the country has been plagued by civil war, political instability, and economic crisis. These factors have created an environment where corruption is rampant, particularly in relation to the country's oil revenues. Efforts to build effective state institutions and combat corruption have been severely hampered by ongoing conflict and political tensions. Conclusion: as we conclude this sobering look at corruption in Africa, it's important to remember that these rankings don't define the future of these nations. Many countries on this list are actively working to combat corruption, and progress is possible with sustained effort and political will. We've seen how corruption can hinder development, exacerbate poverty, and undermine democracy. But we've also seen examples of countries making significant strides in their anti-corruption efforts. These success stories offer hope and valuable lessons for others. Now for the military-led African regimes, apart from Mali, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, does not fall into the league of the 26 most corrupt countries in Africa. So, what are your thoughts on military versus democratic rule when it comes to corruption? You be the judge. What are your thoughts on these rankings? Do you see signs of progress in your country? What do you think are the most effective ways to combat corruption? Share your views in the comments below, and let's continue this important conversation. Remember, change starts with awareness and action at all levels of society. By understanding the challenges and supporting anti-corruption efforts, we can all contribute to building a more transparent and equitable Africa. Thank you for joining us for this in-depth look at corruption in Africa. Thanks for sticking with us to the end. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to African Finance Watch for more in-depth content on Africa's economy and investment opportunities. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when our next video drops.